If you've been following this channel, you're probably aware that Piers Morgan consistently backs right-wing perspectives. We get that. However, it's quite satisfying to witness Piers Morgan being taken apart to such an extent that he has to cut his show short to silence arguments that directly oppose his views. In this clip, we will watch British political commentator Owen Jones completely school Piers Morgan on the current genocide happening in Gaza. As always, we'll watch the entire video and I'll share my thoughts at the end.
I thought the Israeli military response was a direct response to Hamas's official spokesman saying on camera for the world to see, we're going to keep trying to do more and more October the 7th.
Did you think this about Rwanda?
You keep saying whataboutery.
No, it's not whataboutery. It's about consistency. What happened in Rwanda? What's the difference?
I'm not going to talk about every conflict around the world.
No.
You've asked me a direct question. You've asked me a direct question about the first month in which Israel bombarded Hamas in Gaza.
No,
well,
they
killed
lots
of
innocent civilians.
They killed lots of civilians.
Thousands of innocent
Well, it's not murder if you are doing a proportionate response to a terror attack.
But it wasn't proportionate. Do you accept that?
I kept asking what is proportionate. Right? I have now concluded in the last few months it's gone way past proportionate.
But this is the thing. You spent months.
You don't blame Hamas for what happened in the first few weeks.
It was in the obvious.
Do you not blame Hamas?
The war crimes, I blame them for their war crimes.
You don't blame them for what Israel then did?
Every war crime Israel committed
is on Israel. So Hamas built a massive tunnel network. They then launched the worst terror attack on Jewish people
has no legal
since
standing.
the Holocaust.
Right.
And when Israel inevitably responds the way they did, that's not on Hamas.
There is no legal basis for what you just said. You cannot say when you commit war crimes, I was made to do them. Every war crime, legally speaking, that the Israeli military
But I don't think what Israel did in the first few months was a war crime.
But that's like saying...
It was a defence against Hamas doing it again.
But you wouldn't say that about the 240 Palestinians who've been killed by the Israeli military in the months before 7th October.
But
so what's the difference?
Israelis have also been killed throughout the 75-year conflict. Well, you can go back over 75 years and you can say each could respond to the other.
Okay.
But they've always done it on a much smaller scale. Do you accept that? And do you accept what Hamas did on October the 7th was on a scale totally out of kilter with anything that had happened on one day before? Do you accept that?
Yeah, obviously they killed
and you accept that by
more
building
Israelis on that day. But what Israel has done since is infinitely worse.
Fine.
Infinitely worse.
By building the tunnel network, do you accept that Hamas protected themselves at the expense of the civilian population?
Israel wiped out civilians.
Do you accept that?
Israel attacked civilian
targets. Do you accept that Hamas knew what was going to happen?
Benjamin Netanyahu
and built the tunnels to hide
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Do you accept that part?
Again, it's relevant to the point of Israel
irrelevant that Israel knew exactly, that Hamas knew exactly what was going to do.
Benjamin Netanyahu, in the first week, was given a list of 100 targets by his general, and he said, that's not enough targets, I want 400, and he said, destroy their homes. That's what he said. This was revealed in an Israeli newspaper. Now, the idea that they were, the reason that they slaughtered so many civilians in that first week was because of tunnels is a lie, Piers, and you must know that's a lie.
No, it wasn't my question. My question was, do you not think that when Hamas planned this attack and carried it out, having spent 20 years building this tunnel network, they then hid in the tunnels and let their civilian population take the inevitable bombardment that was going to come back when they committed the attack they had committed? In other words, Hamas sacrificed their own civilian population.
You're trying to deflect from Israel's direct responsibility.
You're saying that
we know Hamas committed war crimes. Everybody accepts
so
that.
when any country,
Israel is guilty of the war crimes it perpetrated.
So to be clear, then, your position is if a country has a terror attack on the scale of what Hamas did to Israel on October the 7th, any response by that country militarily is a war crime.
Well,
is that your position? Is that your position?
If you kill civilians through either disproportionality, legality, or intention. Israel made clear.
It's not a war crime.
Yes, it is. Israel made clear from the beginning.
It's not a war crime.
Israel said from the beginning they were fighting human animals.
You don't understand international law.
Yes, I do understand international law.
You don't.
A war crime is...
It's not a war crime.
A war crime doesn't mean if you're attacked, you can break international law and the norms of war. Okay. It means you have to abide by the norms of war.
It's not a war crime for a country to defend itself against terrorists.
Israel committed war crimes from the very beginning.
We will establish the truth about the war crimes.
Do you think that Israel wasn't? Do you think Israel wasn't committing war crimes from day one?
I don't know. Because they wouldn't let journalists in. I don't know what they were doing.
They did it on camera, Piers. They did it on camera in front of the whole.
But you think that any military response is a crime, and that's not true.
What we just saw is a textbook example of deflecting the truth, manipulation, and rewriting events. The kind of narrative that seeks to present excessive violence as self-defense and collective punishment as just military tactics. It's an approach we've encountered far too often. Let me be clear, condemning Hamas does not equate to giving Israel the liberty to brutally attack civilians. You can't just say, Hamas committed an act of terror, so anything that follows is justified. That's not how international law operates, that's not how ethics function, and frankly, that's not how humanity ought to operate. When someone argues that Israel's bombing campaign, which has resulted in tens of thousands of civilian deaths, many of them children, is somehow defensible. Because of the tunnels Hamas dug or due to a prior assault, they're not standing up for justice, they're advocating for revenge. And vengeance at this scale isn't strategy, it's cruelty. Let's also highlight the manipulation here, using Hamas's crimes as a smokescreen for Israel's own. Both can be true. Hamas committed atrocities and Israel reacted with a disproportionate and indiscriminate force that impacted civilians and crucial infrastructure. The latter is what they're reluctant to admit because acknowledging it crumbles their moral superiority. The guests attempt to justify Israel's bombing with, but Hamas hid in tunnels is feeble and dehumanizing. It shifts the onus of survival onto the victims rather than the military force deploying explosives. That's not justice. That's faulting a trapped population for being stuck. When you argue that war crimes are justifiable if you feel sufficiently provoked, you're not defending democracy. You're endorsing a scenario where international law becomes irrelevant. That sets a perilous standard and is hypocritical from those who demand law and order in other contexts. So no, we will not pretend that the massacre of thousands of civilians is a pure act of defense. It's not. It's a war crime, and history will judge it as such.
That's not what I said.
It's pretty much what you implied.
The reason this has happened is because Israel has been committing war crimes for generations. Literally, the Nakba, in which 15,000 Palestinians
and yet every war that started in the
as they were driven from their homes.
75 years of the conflict, every one of the 5 wars has been started by...
That isn't true.
Well, who started them?
Do you think in 67 that's true? That's
each of the wars.
Absolutely not true at all. But we're talking about the Palestinian people.
Just to be clear, you think...
Are you saying this? Are you saying
you think all 5 outbreaks of war in the 75 years were
talking about the Palestinian people
started by Israel?
The Palestinian people didn't start any of those wars.
Arabs started the wars.
So just Palestinians just get lumped in with Arabs.
Did Israel start those wars?
Did Palestinians start any of those wars?
We're
talking about Palestinians here. We're talking about the war and the Palestinian people. Yeah, but we're talking about the war and we're talking about the war and the Palestinian people and their right to exist.
Is Israel ever allowed to defend itself?
Israel needs to become a single state from the river to the sea in which Jewish people and Palestinians have equal rights. That's what it needs to do. And until that happens, there will never be peace.
I believe in a 2-state solution where they all get the same human rights. On that, I agree.
Okay, but the reason the war crimes, which you keep erasing because you keep starting...
I want to see the evidence of the war crimes. So when it comes, I will be the first to lambast them.
They did them on camera.
But I prefer due process on these things.
Yeah, but when they declare to the world they're fighting human animals and they're going to... From the very beginning, they said...
I would call Hamas human animals.
They didn't say, they said civilians.
Right,
they said the residents of Gaza, and they said they were cutting off, at the very beginning, water and fuel. Is a deliberate siege of a deliberate siege of a civilian population, is that a war crime, yes or no?
Listen, if you're asking me, do I agree with the occupation? No.
No, I'm talking about the siege. They announced the siege of Gaza.
No, they shouldn't have been able to do it.
Is it a war crime or not?
Probably.
So you accept they committed war crimes from day one then?
I think the siege that they enacted because they were able to is indicative of the wider, bigger picture problem of the occupation. I agree with that.
So you conceded the point then. You've conceded the point that this doesn't begin, obviously, in the 7th of October.
Of course not.
But then...
I've never said that.
You would never say...
I think you should watch my show more often.
Well, I've got life...
It's good to have you back.
Life's too short.
It's good to have you back. But honestly, life isn't too short for you to be better informed about what I do on my show.
Well, you don't accept Israel's
committing genocide. All these generalizations, which make me think you haven't watched it.
You don't think Israel's committing genocide?
You'd be better informed if you watched my show more often.
Do you think Israel's committing genocide?
As you were about our friend Bob Violet, who it turned out made you look a right chump.
Well, anyway, you look more of a chump when you won't accept Israel's committing genocide, Piers, which is really easy to do. You could just say it now. Is Israel committing genocide?
When the ICC says it's genocide, I will say it's genocide. So that's what we have.
That's the only time you're waiting.
That's kind of a legal process I'm waiting for.
Okay, so you will never...
But we've run out of time.
Okay, so...
It's good to see you.
If Hamas... You don't think Hamas has committed war crimes either?
Come back again soon.
Okay, fair enough.
Hamas committed war crimes.
But you've not waited for the ICC to make their case?
No, because Hamas broadcast it on their own GoPros.
So have Israel.
We're committing war crimes.
It's literally on camera. Thousands of war crimes.
We've run out of time. Literally, the studio has run out of time. Okay, sure. However, I would love to have you back more often. Sure. I enjoy...
Honestly, Piers Morgan is such a buffoon. And if you didn't catch what transpired in those last few moments of the video, Owen Jones questioned Piers Morgan by asking whether Israel's actions are war crimes. Piers responded, well, we need to wait for the ICC to rule on that. Yet when Owen inquired about Hamas, Piers quickly agreed, yes, they have committed them. Wait a minute. Weren't you waiting for the ICC's verdict, Piers? This just shows that folks like Piers Morgan, especially many on the right, but also some on the left, tend to hold the same opinion on this issue. People in influential positions, much like Piers Morgan, don't really care. They're always going to support Israel, for reasons that are up for debate. I did my own research, and according to international bodies such as the UN and Human Rights Watch, Israel has indeed committed war crimes in Gaza. These crimes include attacks that have taken the lives of many civilians and the destruction of hospitals, schools, and homes. Israel's military has been accused of indiscriminate attacks, failing to sufficiently prevent harm to civilians, which is prohibited by international law. Forcing nearly all Gazans from their homes is deemed a war crime and a crime against humanity, a stance supported by organizations like Human Rights Watch. Furthermore, the destruction of Gaza's healthcare system and the targeting of medical professionals aiding affected civilians has been labeled a humanitarian offense, according to the UN. Amnesty International and others argue that some of Israel's actions could be classified as genocide, the gravest offense under international law. But let's be honest, folks, we don't require someone to officially declare these acts as violating international law or genocide. We clearly recognize that this is genocide. With so many civilians being obliterated from their homeland, it's ridiculous to pretend it isn't. Yet Piers Morgan and those of his ilk will cling to their opinions simply because they are notorious for siding with individuals like Benjamin Netanyahu. Utterly unbelievable. Owen Jones made some excellent points, and this encounter was quite intriguing. I plan to release more clips from this discussion and share my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. And while you're at it, please hit the thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Thanks so much, and catch you in the next one.